The marble floors of the DeLuca mansion were always cold, no matter how many times Amara scrubbed them on her hands and knees. For 3 years, she'd cleaned these floors, polished these mirrors, dusted the gold-framed portraits of a family that would never include her. And for 3 years, she loved a man who never saw her as anything more than the help. Dominic DeLuca, billionaire, mafia boss. The man who saved her from the streets, and the man whose empire was built on secrets that could destroy them both. Hey, beautiful souls! Welcome back to the channel. I'm so glad you're here with me today. Drop a comment and let me know, where in the world are you watching from? How are you doing today? And if you haven't already, please hit that subscribe button. Trust me, you don't want to miss what happens next in this story. It's going to shatter your heart and put it back together in ways you won't see coming. Now, let me tell you about Amara. She wasn't supposed to fall in love with him. She wasn't supposed to feel anything but rage. Because 7 years ago, Dominic DeLuca killed her mother. Not with his own hands. No, men like him never get their hands dirty. It was his factory, his negligence, his greed. And when the building collapsed, burying dozens of workers beneath steel and concrete, he buried the truth with money and lawyers. Amara's mother was one of those workers. So when Amara took the job as his maid 3 years ago, it wasn't for the paycheck. It was for answers. For justice. Maybe even revenge. But somewhere between the early mornings and late nights, between the insults from the other staff and the loneliness that filled every corner of that cold mansion, she fell in love with him. And Dominic, he never even looked at her. To him, she was invisible. A shadow. The black girl from the slums who should be grateful he gave her a roof over her head. But everything changed the night Amara stopped coming home early. She started arriving after midnight, eyes tired, hands bruised, wearing a smile that wasn't meant for him anymore. And for the first time in his life, Dominic DeLuca felt something he'd never felt before. Jealousy. The monster inside him awakened. The walls around his frozen heart began to crack. Because the one woman who truly loved him was slipping away. And the secret she carried, it was about to burn his entire empire to the ground. So here's the question that's going to haunt us through this entire story. What was Amara doing every night after midnight? And when Dominic finally discovers the truth about who she really is, will his love be enough to save them both? Or will the sins of his past destroy the only woman who ever saw the man beneath the monster? Stick with me, because this story is going to take us places you won't expect. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe if you haven't already, and hit that notification bell so you never miss an update. Let's dive in. Amara had learned to move like a ghost. Silent footsteps. Lowered eyes. Hands that worked quickly, efficiently, invisibly. In the DeLuca mansion, survival meant being seen but never noticed, a contradiction she'd mastered over 3 years. But ghosts still feel pain. Every morning at 5 a.m., she woke in the cramped servants' quarters, a room barely larger than a closet, tucked away in the mansion's forgotten corner. While Dominic slept in his king-sized bed wrapped in Egyptian cotton, Amara lay on a thin mattress, staring at the water-stained ceiling, and whispered the same prayer her mother used to say. God, give me strength to forgive what I cannot forget. Her mother. Sweet, gentle mama who worked herself to the bone in Dominic's factory, who sang hymns while packing shipment boxes, who believed hard work and faith would give them a better life. Mama never got that better life. What she got was a mass grave and a settlement check Amara burned the day it arrived. But here's what broke Amara's heart even more than grief. It was hope. Hope that if she stayed close enough, worked hard enough, loved him purely enough, maybe Dominic would finally see her. Not as the maid. Not as a charity case. But as a woman worthy of his love. It was foolish. Pathetic. Even. And yet, every time he passed her in the hallway without a glance, her traitorous heart still skipped a beat. Then there was Sophia, the head housekeeper and Amara's only ally in this gilded prison. Sophia was 53. With silver-streaked hair she wore in a tight bun and eyes that had seen too much cruelty to be shocked by anything. She'd worked for the DeLuca family for 20 years, long enough to know where all the bodies were buried, literally and figuratively. You're wasting your heart on a man made of stone, Sophia told Amara one evening as they folded linens in the laundry room. Her voice was gentle, but her words cut deep. Dominic DeLuca doesn't know how to love, Mija. His father beat it out of him before he turned 12. Amara's hands stilled on the white sheets. Everyone can love, Sophia. They just need someone to show them how. Sophia's laugh was bitter and knowing. And you think you're that someone? A black girl from the slums. She shook her head. He'll never see you as an equal. Men like him, they take, Amara. They don't give. But what Sophia didn't know, what no one knew, was that Amara wasn't just here to clean floors and nurse a broken heart. She was here because 6 months ago, she'd found something. A document. Hidden in Dominic's private study during one of her late-night cleaning shifts. Proof that the factory collapse wasn't an accident. It was negligence. Ignored safety violations. Profits chosen over human lives. And Dominic's signature was on every report that had been buried. Amara's deepest desire? To make him pay for what he did. Her deepest fear? That she'd fall so deeply in love with him, she'd forgive him instead. And Dominic. He sat in his leather chair that very moment, whiskey in hand, staring at the security footage from 3 nights ago. Footage of Amara slipping out the servants' entrance at 11 p.m., wearing a dress he'd never seen before. His jaw clenched. His second-in-command, Liam, stood beside him, a sharp-eyed enforcer with loyalty as fierce as his temper. Want me to follow her, boss? Dominic's voice came out low, dangerous. No. I'll handle this myself. Because Dominic DeLuca was a man who controlled everything in his world. Except, apparently, the one woman he never thought he'd care about. And the jealousy eating him alive? That was something entirely new. Something terrifying. Something that made him wonder if maybe, just maybe, the maid he'd ignored for 3 years had become the only person who mattered. But if he dug too deep into her secrets, he might just uncover his own. The confrontation happened on a Thursday night. Amara returned at 12:47 a.m., slipping through the servants' entrance as quietly as she'd left. Her feet ached in the unfamiliar heels, and her makeup, carefully applied hours ago, was smudged from tears she'd fought to hold back. She didn't expect anyone to be waiting. Especially not him. Dominic stood in the darkened hallway like a predator, backlit by the dim glow of the wall sconces. His tie was loosened, his sleeves rolled up, and the whiskey glass in his hand was empty, which meant he'd been drinking. A lot. Where were you? His voice was quiet. Deadly. Amara's breath caught. In 3 years, he'd barely spoken 10 words directly to her. Now his eyes, dark, intense, burning, were locked on hers like she was the only person in the world. I was out, Mr. DeLuca. Out where? He stepped closer, and she could smell the expensive cologne mixed with alcohol. Doing what? With who? Her heart hammered against her ribs. That's my personal business. Everything under my roof is my business. His jaw clenched. You work for me. You live here because I allow it. So when I ask you a question, Amara, you answer. He'd said her name. For the first time in 3 years, Dominic DeLuca had said her actual name. Not the maid, or you, or nothing at all. And it terrified her how much that small thing made her heart soar. I was at the community center, she said quietly, meeting his gaze with a defiance that surprised them both. Teaching kids to read. Helping families fill out job applications. Things that actually matter. Something flickered across his face. Surprise. Shame. You're lying. I'm not. Then why the dress? His eyes raked over her, the modest blue dress she'd borrowed from Sophia, the cheap heels, the lipstick. Why the makeup? You don't dress like that to teach kids. Heat flooded her cheeks. Because I wanted to feel beautiful for once. The words burst out before she could stop them. Because I'm tired of being invisible. Because maybe, just maybe, I wanted someone to look at me like I'm worth something. The silence that followed was suffocating. Dominic stared at her, his expression unreadable. Then slowly, He set down his glass and closed the distance between them until he was so close she could feel the heat radiating from his body. "You think you're invisible to me?" His voice dropped to a whisper, rough and raw. "You think I don't see you, Amara?" Her breath hitched. "I see you every damn day," he continued, his eyes searching hers with an intensity that made her knees weak. "Every morning when you bring me coffee. Every night when you think no one's watching and you read in the library. I see the way you help Sophia when her arthritis flares up. The way you leave food for the stray cats by the garden gate." Tears burned her eyes. "Then why?" "Because seeing you and wanting you are two very different things," he said, his voice breaking slightly. "And I can't want you, Amara. I won't." "Why not?" He pulled back as if she'd burned him, his walls slamming back into place. "Because you deserve better than a monster." And then he was gone, disappearing down the hallway and leaving her standing there, heart shattered, tears streaming, and more confused than ever. Because Dominic DeLuca had just revealed something he probably didn't even realize. He didn't see her as just a maid. He saw her as a temptation. And for a man who controlled everything in his world, that made her the most dangerous person in his life. But what he didn't know, what he couldn't know, was that while he'd been watching her, she'd been watching him too. And she'd finally found what she came for, the safe in his office. The one with all his secrets. Tonight, she was going back for the evidence that would destroy him. The next morning, Dominic was gone. Business in Chicago, Liam informed the staff during breakfast. He'll be back in 3 days. 3 days. Amara's hands trembled as she poured coffee for the other household staff. 3 days to execute her plan. 3 days to break into Dominic's private safe and retrieve the documents that would expose his crimes to the world. 3 days to betray the man she loved. No, she corrected herself harshly. Not loved. Could never love. He killed your mother. But her treacherous heart didn't seem to understand the difference anymore. "You look pale, Mija," Sophia observed, studying her with concerned eyes. "Are you feeling all right?" "I'm fine," Amara lied, forcing a smile. "Just tired." Sophia lowered her voice, glancing around to make sure they were alone. "I saw him waiting for you last night. Did he hurt you?" "No." Amara shook her head quickly. "He just asked where I'd been. And I told him the truth. About the community center." Sophia's expression softened. "You have a good heart, Amara. Too good for this place." She hesitated, then added, "But be careful. Dominic is changing. I've worked for this family long enough to recognize the signs. He's noticing you now, and when men like him notice something they want." "He doesn't want me," Amara said quietly. "He made that very clear." "Did he?" Sophia's knowing smile was sad. "Because from where I stood, the way he's been acting, the jealousy, the questions, the drinking, that's not indifference, Mija. That's a man fighting a losing battle with himself." Before Amara could respond, the kitchen door swung open and Charlotte swept in, Dominic's girlfriend of 6 months. Well, girlfriend was a strong word. More like his arm candy for business events. A stunning socialite with golden hair, designer clothes, and a smile sharp enough to cut glass. "Coffee," Charlotte demanded without looking at Amara, scrolling through her phone. "And make it strong. I have a charity luncheon at noon and I'm already bored thinking about it." "Yes, ma'am," Amara murmured, moving to prepare a fresh cup. Charlotte's eyes flicked up, finally acknowledging her existence. "You're the one Dominic was arguing with last night, aren't you? I could hear you from upstairs." Amara's stomach dropped. "I wasn't arguing, ma'am. Mr. DeLuca was simply—" "Save it." Charlotte waved a perfectly manicured hand dismissively. "I don't care what you were doing. Just stay away from him. Dominic has a weakness for charity cases, but trust me, you're not special. You're just the latest project." The words stung more than they should have. Sophia stepped forward, her voice icy. "Miss Charlotte, that's inappropriate." "It's fine, Sophia," Amara interrupted quietly, setting the coffee cup down. "Miss Charlotte is right. I'm just the help." But as she turned to leave, Charlotte's voice stopped her cold. Although, I have to admit, I've never seen him drink himself half to death over just the help before. Her laugh was cruel, calculated. Maybe you are special. How tragic for you that it won't matter. Men like Dominic don't end up with girls like you. They use you, break you, and move on. Amara didn't respond. She simply walked out, her composure intact until she reached the servants' stairwell. Then she let the tears fall. Because Charlotte was right about one thing. Men like Dominic DeLuca destroyed everything they touched. And Amara was about to destroy him right back. That night, armed with the safe combination she'd memorized from watching Dominic enter it weeks ago, Amara slipped into his private office. Her hands shook as she turned the dial. Left. Right. Left. Click. The safe opened. Inside were files, ledgers, and, there, the factory inspection reports. All of them. Proof of every violation, every ignored warning, every life sacrificed for profit. Proof that would send Dominic to prison for the rest of his life. She pulled out her phone to photograph the documents. And that's when she heard the office door open behind her. I had a feeling you'd come here tonight. Dominic's voice cut through the darkness, cold and emotionless. Amara spun around, her blood turning to ice. He stood in the doorway, still in his travel clothes, his expression unreadable. Tell me, Amara, he said softly, stepping into the room and closing the door behind him. Who are you really? And what the hell do you want from me? Amara's mind raced, searching for an escape, an excuse, anything. But Dominic's eyes held her frozen in place. I asked you a question. His voice was dangerously calm as he approached, each step measured and predatory. Who are you? Her throat tightened. I'm no one. Liar. He stopped just inches away, towering over her. I've had you investigated, Amara. Or should I say, Amara Williams. The blood drained from her face. Williams, he repeated, watching her reaction like a hawk. As in Rebecca Williams. The woman who died in my factory 7 years ago. His jaw clenched. The woman whose daughter disappeared the day after the settlement was offered. Tears burned her eyes, but she refused to let them fall. You knew. Not until 2 days ago. His hand shot out, gripping her chin and forcing her to meet his gaze. When I started digging into why my maid was suddenly sneaking out at night wearing dresses I didn't buy her. Why she moved through my house like she was searching for something. Why she looked at me like she wanted to either kiss me or kill me. Let me go, she whispered. No. His grip gentlened but didn't release. Not until you tell me the truth. Did you come here to destroy me? Yes. The word exploded from her lips, 3 years of pain and rage finally breaking free. Yes, I came here to destroy you. I came here to make you pay for what you did to my mother. Then why didn't you? He demanded. You've had 3 years, Amara. 3 years to leak those documents, to go to the press, to ruin me. So why are you still here? Because I'm a fool. She shoved at his chest, and he let her go, stepping back. Because somewhere between hating you and serving you, I made the mistake of seeing you as human. I saw you visit Sophia in the hospital when her sister died. I saw you pay for the gardener's son's college tuition. I saw you sit alone in your office at 3 a.m. looking so broken that She stopped, horrified at what she'd almost admitted. But Dominic's eyes had softened, pain etched across his features. That you what? That I fell in love with you, she whispered, the confession tearing from her soul. And I hate myself for it. I hate that I love the man who killed my mother. I hate that every time you walk past me without looking, it breaks my heart. I hate that even now, knowing what you've done, all I want is for you to hold me and tell me you feel even a fraction of what I feel. Silence crashed between them. Then Dominic did something that shattered her completely. He closed his eyes and pressed his forehead against hers, his breath ragged. Your mother, he said hoarsely. I dream about her every night. About all of them. 23 people died because I was too greedy, too ambitious, too damn blind to see that my father's cost-cutting measures were going to kill someone. Amara's breath hitched. I was 25, he continued, his voice breaking. Fresh out of business school, trying to prove I could run the company better than my old man. So when he told me the safety upgrades were too expensive, I believed him. I signed off on everything without asking questions. And when that building came down... He pulled back, and she saw tears tracking down his face. The first time she'd ever seen the ruthless Dominic DeLuca cry. I became the monster everyone says I am, he finished. I buried the evidence, paid off the families, and built an empire on their graves because living with the guilt was unbearable. And then you... His voice cracked. You walked into my house with your mother's eyes and your angel's heart, and I knew. I knew if I let myself look at you, really see you, I'd fall. And I couldn't fall for you, Amara. Because you deserved justice, not love from the man who destroyed your life. Amara's tears fell freely now. You knew who I was this whole time? Not at first. But 6 months ago, I saw your mother's photograph in your room when you left your door open. His laugh was bitter. You look just like her. And I realized the woman I was falling in love with was the daughter of the woman whose death haunts me every single day. You're falling in love with me? Dominic cupped her face with both hands, his thumbs brushing away her tears. I've been in love with you since the day you smiled at that stray cat in the garden and told it everything would be okay. I just didn't deserve to tell you. You don't, she said, even as she leaned into his touch. You don't deserve my love, Dominic. You don't deserve my forgiveness. I know. But I'm giving it to you anyway, she whispered. God help me, I'm choosing you over justice, over revenge, over everything my mother would want me to do. And then she kissed him. It was desperate, broken, and tasted of salt from their shared tears. It was wrong and right and inevitable all at once. When they finally pulled apart, Dominic rested his forehead against hers again. What happens now? He asked quietly. Amara looked at the open safe, at the documents that could destroy him, at the man she'd spent 3 years hating and loving in equal measure. Now, she said, you help me honor my mother's memory the right way. No more covering up. No more buried secrets. We're going to make sure what happened to her never happens to anyone else. Dominic nodded slowly. I'll lose everything. Maybe. But you'll have me. That's more than I deserve. I know, she said with a sad smile. But love isn't about what we deserve, Dominic. It's about what we choose. And she chose him, even knowing it might destroy them both. The morning after their confession, reality crashed back in with the force of a tidal wave. Amara woke in Dominic's bed, not the servants' quarters, but his actual bedroom, wrapped in sheets that cost more than she used to make in a year. Sunlight streamed through floor-to-ceiling windows, and for one perfect moment, she let herself believe that love could conquer everything. Then she heard the shouting downstairs. She threw on one of Dominic's shirts and rushed to the landing, where she found Liam in the foyer, his face twisted with barely controlled rage. You can't be serious, Liam was saying to Dominic, who stood at the bottom of the grand staircase, fully dressed in a charcoal suit. You're going to destroy everything we've built? Everything your family built. For her. Watch your tone, Dominic warned, his voice deadly quiet. No, I won't watch my tone. Liam stepped forward, his fists clenched. I've been loyal to you for 12 years, Dominic. I've killed for you. I've lied for you. And now you're telling me you're going to hand over evidence that will send half our organization to prison, including yourself, because you've fallen for the Maid. Amara's stomach churned. She started down the stairs, but Dominic held up a hand, stopping her. This isn't about her, Dominic said firmly. This is about doing what's right. Right. Liam laughed bitterly. Since when do men like us care about right? We care about power, money, survival. And the moment you turn over those factory documents, every enemy you've ever made will smell blood in the water. Then let them come. They won't just come for you. Liam's voice rose. They'll come for everyone. Sophia. The staff. Her. He pointed at Amara with disgust. Is she worth that? Is your guilty conscience worth all our lives? Dominic's jaw clenched. Get out. Fine. Liam headed for the door, then paused. But when this all falls apart, when the Russians or the feds or someone worse comes for you, don't say I didn't warn you. The door slammed behind him, leaving a deafening silence. Amara descended the stairs slowly. He's right, you know. Dominic turned to her, pain evident in his eyes. About what? About the danger. She wrapped her arms around herself. I didn't think about what exposing the truth would mean for everyone else. For Sophia, for the people who depend on you. Stop. Dominic crossed to her, taking her hands in his. I've made my choice, Amara. I'm done running from what I did. But what if there's another way, she said quietly. What if instead of destroying your empire, we transform it? Use your resources to build safe factories, create jobs, fund education programs. Honor my mother's memory by making sure no one else suffers the way she did. Dominic stared at her, something like wonder crossing his face. You'd do that? Let me keep my power if I used it for good. I'd do that if you promised to use it for good, she corrected. Real change. Dominic. Not just charity galas and tax write-offs. Actual justice. Before he could respond, his phone rang. He glanced at the screen and his expression darkened. What is it? Amara asked. It's the commissioner. Someone leaked information about the factory collapse to the press. He looked up at her, his eyes searching. Did you? No. I swear I didn't. I believe you. He answered the call. Commissioner. His face grew paler with each passing second. I understand. Yes. I'll turn myself in within the hour. When he hung up, his hand was shaking. They've reopened the investigation, he said quietly. Someone sent them anonymous documents. Photos of the original inspection reports, emails, everything. Amara's blood ran cold. But those documents are still in your safe. I didn't take pictures, I didn't. Realization dawned. Charlotte. What? She was here that night. She said she heard us arguing. What if she went through your office after we left? Amara's mind raced. She's always hated that you pay attention to me. What better way to destroy us both than to send you to prison? Dominic was already moving, pulling up security footage on his tablet. They watched as Charlotte, still in her designer dress, slipped into his office at 2 a.m., opened the safe. How did she know the combination? And photographed every document. She's been spying on you, Amara whispered. Learning your routines, your codes. She's been working with someone, Dominic said grimly. Charlotte doesn't have the connections to reopen a closed investigation alone. Someone bigger is behind this. His phone rang again. This time it was Sophia. Mijo, I'm so sorry. Sophia's voice was thick with tears. They're here. Federal agents. They have a warrant for your arrest. Dominic closed his eyes. I'll be right there, Sophia. Don't worry. When he hung up, Amara grabbed his arm. We can run. Leave the country. Start over somewhere they can't find us. And spend the rest of our lives looking over our shoulders? He cupped her face gently. No, mi amor. I'm done running. I caused 23 deaths because I was a coward who didn't ask questions. I won't be a coward anymore. Then I'm coming with you. Absolutely not. You don't get to make this decision for me, she said fiercely. We're in this together now. For better or worse. Dominic pulled her into his arms, holding her like she was the only solid thing in a crumbling world. I love you, he whispered into her hair. And I'm so sorry I dragged you into this nightmare. I walked into it willingly, she whispered back. And I'll walk through fire to stay by your side. But as they held each other, neither of them noticed the black sedan that had been parked across the street for the past hour. Inside, a man with cold eyes and a Russian accent spoke into his phone. DeLuca is finished. Move in tonight. Take everything. The territory, the assets, and the girl. The storm was coming. And it would test whether love could truly survive in a world built on blood and betrayal. The federal courthouse was a fortress of marble and judgment. Amara sat in the gallery, her hands clasped so tightly her knuckles were white, as Dominic stood before the judge in an orange jumpsuit. The man who'd commanded empires now looked small, stripped of his tailored suits and bulletproof confidence. The prosecutor was relentless. Mr. DeLuca knowingly approved cost-cutting measures that directly resulted in 23 deaths, the lawyer declared, pacing before the jury. He buried evidence, bribed officials, paid off families to stay silent. And when one brave family, the Williams family, refused his blood money, he ensured they'd never see justice. Amara's eyes filled with tears. Hearing her mother's name in that courtroom, attached to Dominic's crimes, made it all horrifyingly real again. The people request remand without bail, the prosecutor finished. Mr. DeLuca is a flight risk with unlimited resources and dangerous connections. Dominic's lawyer, a sharp woman named Eva who'd worked for the family for years, stood. Your Honor, Mr. DeLuca has cooperated fully with this investigation. He's provided additional evidence, disclosed previously unknown violations, and has expressed genuine remorse. Remorse doesn't bring back the dead, the prosecutor cut in. The judge adjusted his glasses. Bail is denied. Mr. DeLuca will remain in custody until trial. The gavel fell like a death sentence. As officers led Dominic away, his eyes found Amara's across the courtroom. The look they shared said everything words couldn't. I love you. I'm sorry. This isn't over. Then he was gone. Outside the courthouse, reporters swarmed like vultures. Miss Williams, is it true you're in a relationship with the man who killed your mother? How does it feel to betray your mother's memory? Are you just after his money? Sophia pushed through the crowd, her arm around Amara's shoulders. Don't listen to them, Mija. They don't know anything. But their words burrowed deep, echoing the doubts Amara had been fighting since the moment she'd chosen love over revenge. Am I betraying Mama? That night, alone in Dominic's mansion, which now felt like a mausoleum, Amara sat in the library surrounded by her mother's photographs. Pictures she'd kept hidden for 3 years, images of a woman who'd worked herself to death believing in a better future. I'm so sorry, Mama, she whispered, tears streaming down her face. I know you'd hate what I'm doing. I know you'd want me to let him rot in prison. But I can't. I love him, and I hate that I love him, but I can't stop. The door creaked open. Sophia entered, carrying 2 cups of tea. I thought you might need this, the older woman said gently, settling beside Amara on the couch. I'm a terrible daughter, Amara said, her voice breaking. You're a woman with a heart big enough to hold both justice and mercy, Sophia corrected. Your mother was my friend, Amara. I worked with her in that factory. And I know Rebecca, she would want you to be happy, not consumed by hate. But he killed her. No. His negligence killed her. His cowardice. His greed. Sophia took Amara's hand. But the man standing in that courtroom today? That's not the same boy who signed those papers 7 years ago. That's a man who's finally facing what he did. Because of you. Before Amara could respond, the lights went out. Complete darkness swallowed the mansion. Sophia stood immediately, her voice tight. That's not the backup generator. Someone cut the power. Amara's heart raced. Who? Glass shattered downstairs. Run, Sophia hissed, pushing Amara toward the servants' staircase. There's a safe room in the basement. Code is 0-8-1-7. Your mother's birthday. Dominic installed it 6 months ago. What? Why would he? Because he's been preparing for this. Sophia pressed a gun into Amara's hands. Where had she gotten a gun? And shoved her toward the stairs. Go. I'll hold them off. Sophia, no. Go. Amara ran. Behind her, she heard men's voices. Russian accents. Gunshots. Sophia. But she couldn't go back. She raced through the dark hallways, her mother's gun heavy in her shaking hands, heading for the basement. Behind her, footsteps pounded in pursuit. She reached the safe room, her fingers fumbling on the keypad. 0-8-1-7. The door opened just as a hand grabbed her hair, yanking her backward. Amara screamed. the gun flying from her grasp. A man's face loomed over her, scarred, cold, reeking of vodka. "The boss wants you alive," he said in broken English. But he didn't say unharmed. She fought, kicking, clawing, but he was too strong. He dragged her back through the mansion, past Sophia's crumpled body. Oh God, Sophia, and out to a waiting van. As they shoved her inside, Amara caught a glimpse of the man orchestrating everything. Nikolai Volkov. The Russian mob boss Dominic had pushed out of the territory 5 years ago. "Hello, Miss Williams," Nikolai said, his smile reptilian. "Let's discuss how much your lover is willing to sacrifice to get you back." The van doors slammed shut, and Amara realized that confessing her love to Dominic had painted a target on her back. Now she was a pawn in a game far more dangerous than revenge. And the man she loved was locked in a cell, powerless to save her. Dominic learned about the kidnapping from a guard who owed him a favor. "Your girl's been taken," the man whispered through the cell bars. "Russians hit the mansion 2 hours ago. One dead, the old housekeeper. The girl's gone." Dominic's world stopped. Sophia, dead. Amara, taken. And he was trapped in a cage, unable to protect the only people who'd ever mattered. "I need a phone," he said, his voice eerily calm. "Can't do that, DeLuca. I have information on 3 federal judges, 2 senators, and the city's chief of police. Get me a phone in the next 5 minutes, or I start talking to the feds about everything." For minutes later, he had a burner phone. He called Liam. "I'm listening," Liam said, his voice guarded. "I need you to do something for me. One last time. After what you said." "They took Amara," Dominic interrupted. "And they killed Sophia. So either you help me save her, or you leave town before I get out of here and make you pay for every second she suffers." Silence. Then, "Where is she?" "Volkov has her. The warehouse on 5th and Bremen." "How do you?" "Because that's where I would take someone I wanted to break," Dominic said coldly. "Liam, I'm begging you. Save her. I'll deal with the consequences." "What about your conscience? Your redemption arc?" "Screw redemption," Dominic growled. "Save the woman I love, and burn Volkov's entire organization to the ground. I don't care what it costs." Now that's the Dominic DeLuca I know. Liam's voice held grim satisfaction. "I'll bring her home, boss. And I'll make sure Volkov regrets ever touching her." Meanwhile, in the warehouse, Amara was discovering depths of courage she didn't know she possessed. They'd tied her to a chair in a freezing room that smelled of mildew and blood. Nikolai circled her like a shark, his eyes calculating. "You know what's funny," he said conversationally. "Dominic DeLuca, the great mafia boss, has finally found something he can't buy or kill his way out of. You." "He doesn't control me," Amara said, her voice steadier than she felt. "No, but he loves you. Which is so much worse." Nikolai crouched before her. "Love is weakness. And I'm going to use his weakness to destroy him." "By kidnapping me? How original." He backhanded her. Pain exploded across her face. "I could do much worse," he hissed. "But I want Dominic to see you alive when I broadcast your execution. I want him to watch you die knowing it's his fault." "You're pathetic," Amara spat blood. "You lost territory to Dominic because you were weak. And now you're hiding behind a woman to get revenge? My mother had more courage in her pinky finger than you have in your entire body." Nikolai's face darkened. "Your mother was the factory worker, yes? The one Dominic killed." "Yes. And yet you defend him. Stockholm Syndrome is truly fascinating." "It's not Stockholm Syndrome. It's forgiveness." Amara met his eyes. "Something you'll never understand because you're too consumed by hate to see that revenge only breeds more death." "Philosophical until the end. How noble." Nikolai checked his watch. "But your words won't save you when..." The lights went out. Gunfire erupted from outside. Nikolai cursed in Russian, barking orders to his men. In the chaos, Amara worked frantically at the ropes binding her wrists, her fingers slick with blood. The door burst open. Liam stood there, weapon drawn, his face splattered with blood that definitely wasn't his. "Miss Williams," he said with a nod. "Time to go." Behind him, Dominic's entire crew poured in, engaging Volkov's men in a firefight that turned the warehouse into a war zone. Liam cut her free. "Can you run?" "Yes." "Then run. Now." They bolted through the chaos. Bullets whizzed past. Men screamed. Amara's heart hammered as Liam shielded her with his body, taking a round to the shoulder that barely slowed him down. Outside, a black SUV waited, engine running. They were 10 feet away when Nikolai appeared, gun aimed directly at Amara's head. "You're not leaving," he snarled. Time slowed. Liam moved, but he was too far. The gun fired, and Amara waited for pain that never came. Instead, she heard a body hit the ground. She turned to see Charlotte, of all people, crumpled on the pavement, a red stain blooming across her designer blouse. Charlotte had stepped in front of the bullet. "Why?" Amara whispered, dropping to her knees beside the woman who'd tormented her for months. Charlotte's laugh was wet, pained. "Because I loved him too. And I realized sending him to prison wouldn't make him love me." She coughed blood. "But maybe saving you will let him be happy." "Charlotte, tell Dominic. I'm sorry." Her eyes glazed. "Tell him he deserves love." She went still. Liam grabbed Amara. "We need to leave. Now." More of Volkov's men were coming. They ran. Behind them, the warehouse exploded in flames, Liam's team ensuring no evidence remained. And somewhere in that inferno, Nikolai Volkov's reign ended the way it began, in violence and fire. 12 hours later, Amara sat in Dominic's cell, thanks to Eva pulling strings with a sympathetic judge. Dominic held her face gently, his thumbs tracing the bruises Volkov had left. "I'm so sorry," he whispered. "For all of it." "Charlotte saved my life," Amara said quietly. "She died to protect me." Dominic closed his eyes, pain etched deep. "She deserved better than me." "We all do," Amara said. "But we love who we love." "I've destroyed everything I've touched." "Then stop destroying and start building." She took his hands. "Use your trial as a platform. Tell the truth. All of it. And let's create something good from all this pain." "They'll still send me to prison." "I know. And I'll wait for you." Dominic's eyes widened. "Amara." "However long it takes," she said firmly. "You waited 3 years to tell me you loved me. I can wait 3, 5, 10 years for you to come home. Because that's what love is. Choosing someone even when it's hard." He kissed her then, pouring every ounce of love and regret and hope into that single moment. When they parted, Dominic whispered, "I'll make you proud. I promise. I know you will." And for the first time since this nightmare began, Amara believed that maybe, just maybe, love could redeem even the darkest souls. 2 years later, the courtroom was packed for sentencing day. Dominic DeLuca stood before the same judge who denied him bail, but he was a different man now. 2 years of pre-trial detention had stripped away the hardness, revealing someone Amara recognized from late-night conversations, the man he could have been if life had been kinder. "Mr. DeLuca," the judge began, "you've pleaded guilty to 23 counts of negligent homicide, obstruction of justice, and racketeering. Before I pass sentence, do you have anything to say?" Dominic cleared his throat, his eyes finding Amara in the front row. "Your Honor, no words can undo what I've done. Rebecca Williams and 22 others died because I chose profit over people. I buried evidence because I was too cowardly to face what my decisions had cost." His voice cracked. "But I stand here today because someone, the daughter of the woman I killed, showed me that redemption isn't about running from our sins. It's about facing them head-on and doing everything in our power to make amends." He turned to address the families seated in the gallery, men and women whose loved ones had died in that factory. "I can't bring them back. But I've established the Rebecca Williams Foundation, funded with my entire personal fortune. Every penny will go toward workers' rights advocacy, factory safety initiatives, and college scholarships for families affected by workplace negligence. Additionally, I've sold my business holdings to a workers' cooperative. The people who build the products will now own the company. Murmurs rippled through the courtroom. I know this doesn't erase my guilt, Dominic continued. But I hope it honors their memory. And I hope someday, you might find it in your hearts to forgive me. The judge studied him for a long moment. Mr. DeLuca, the court acknowledges your cooperation and restitution efforts. However, 23 people are dead. Families were destroyed. Justice demands accountability. Amara held her breath. I hereby sentence you to 15 years in federal prison, with eligibility for parole after 7 years, contingent on continued good behavior and community service upon release. The gavel fell. 15 years. Amara's heart clenched, but she didn't cry. They'd known this was coming. They'd prepared. As officers led Dominic away, he looked back at her one last time and mouthed, I love you. Wait for me. She nodded, tears finally spilling over. Always. Outside the courthouse, reporters mobbed Amara. Miss Williams, how can you stand by a man who killed your mother? She stopped, turning to face the cameras with quiet dignity. My mother believed in second chances. She believed people could change if given the opportunity and the right guidance. Dominic DeLuca is not the same man who signed those papers 7 years ago. He's faced his crimes, accepted responsibility, and is dedicating his life to making sure no one else suffers the way my mother did. But don't you hate him? I did, Amara admitted. For 3 years, I hated him with everything in me. But hate is a prison, and I chose to be free. I chose forgiveness. Not because he deserves it, but because I deserve peace. Will you wait for him? A small smile touched her lips. For however long it takes. 5 years later, the Rebecca Williams Community Center stood where Dominic's old factory had once been. A beautiful building filled with light, laughter, and hope. Amara stood in her office, reviewing scholarship applications, when her phone rang. You have a call from Dominic DeLuca, an inmate at. Accept, she said immediately. Me Amor, Dominic's voice came through, warm despite the prison setting. How's the center? Thriving. We just enrolled our 200th student in the job training program. She smiled. Your mother would be proud. My mother was part of the problem, he said quietly. But you're the solution. You took my blood money and turned it into something beautiful. We did, she corrected. Your ideas, my execution. We're partners, remember? Partners, he repeated, and she heard the smile in his voice. I got news today. Parole hearing is scheduled for next month. Amara's breath caught. Really? Really? The warden says I have a good shot. Model prisoner, completed 3 college degrees, started a prison reform advocacy group. He paused. Amara, if I get out, will you still? Yes, she interrupted. Whatever you're about to ask, the answer is yes. You don't even know what I was going to say. Doesn't matter. The answer is still yes. His laugh was soft, full of love. I was going to ask if you'd marry me. Properly this time, with a ring and a proposal that doesn't happen through prison glass. Tears streamed down Amara's face. Yes. 1,000 times yes. Even though I'm a convicted felon with nothing to offer you but a tarnished name and a second-hand future? You're offering me yourself, she said. That's everything. 2 months later. Parole hearing. Mr. DeLuca, the parole board chair said, reviewing his file. You've served 5 years of a 15-year sentence. You have an exemplary prison record, multiple degrees, and dozens of letters of support, including from families of your victims. That's unprecedented. I don't take their forgiveness lightly, Dominic said. Every day, I work to be worthy of the second chance I've been given. If released, what are your plans? I'll continue working with the Rebecca Williams Foundation, focusing on criminal justice reform and helping formerly incarcerated individuals reintegrate into society. I also plan to marry Amara Williams and spend the rest of my life proving that people can change. The board deliberated for 20 minutes. Then, Parole granted, with conditions. You'll report to a parole officer weekly, maintain employment, and continue your advocacy work. Dominic's knees nearly buckled. Thank you. I won't let you down. When he walked out of prison 3 days later, Amara was waiting. She stood by a simple car, no mansion, no luxury, just her in a sundress with a smile that had saved his soul. Welcome home, she said. Dominic dropped his bag and ran to her, sweeping her into his arms and holding her like she might disappear. I'm never letting you go again, he whispered into her hair. Good, she whispered back. Because we have work to do. 1 year later, Dominic and Amara stood before a small gathering of friends in the community center's garden, the same spot where Dominic's factory had once stood. Liam, now running a security firm for non-profit organizations, served as best man. Sophia's niece, Maya, whom Amara had become close to, was maid of honor. The ceremony was simple, beautiful, and full of tears. When the minister said, "You may kiss your bride," Dominic cupped Amara's face gently. Thank you, he whispered, for seeing the man I could become instead of the monster I was. Thank you, she whispered back, for becoming him. Their kiss sealed a love forged in pain, tempered by forgiveness, and transformed into something neither of them had thought possible: redemption. As the reception continued, Dominic pulled Amara aside to the memorial wall. 23 names etched in marble, including Rebecca Williams. I come here every day, he admitted, to remember, to promise I'll never forget. Amara took his hand. She would have liked you, you know. The real you. The man you've become. You think so. I know so. She smiled. Because she raised me to believe in second chances. And you, Dominic DeLuca, are proof that she was right. They stood together in the fading sunlight, two broken people who'd found healing in the last place anyone would expect, in each other's arms. And in the distance, carried on the evening breeze, Amara could have sworn she heard her mother's voice. Gentle, forgiving, proud. Well done, baby girl. Well done. 5 years later, the DeLuca family, Dominic, Amara, and their 3-year-old daughter Lily Rebecca DeLuca, sat in the community center's library. Lily, with her mother's dark eyes and her father's determined chin, clutched a picture book. Daddy, tell me about Grandma Rebecca. Dominic and Amara exchanged a look. Grandma Rebecca, Dominic began gently, was a brave woman who worked very hard to make the world better. And she taught your mama the most important lesson of all. What lesson? Lily asked. Amara smiled, stroking her daughter's curls. That love is stronger than hate. Forgiveness is stronger than revenge. And people can always change if someone believes in them enough to show them the way. Lily nodded seriously, as if she understood. Then, Daddy, were you bad before? Yes, sweetheart. I was. But you're good now. I'm trying to be. Every single day. Because Mama loved you? Dominic's eyes filled with tears. Because your mama loved me enough to save me from myself. Lily hugged him fiercely. I love you too, Daddy. And in that moment, surrounded by the family he'd built from ashes and the legacy of change he'd created from guilt, Dominic DeLuca finally understood what redemption truly meant. Not erasing the past, but honoring it by building a better future. One day, one choice, one act of love at a time. Thank you for joining Amara and Dominic on their journey from hate to healing, from revenge to redemption. Their story reminds us that no one is beyond saving, and that love, true, unconditional love, has the power to transform even the darkest souls. If this story touched your heart, please like, subscribe, and share. And remember, forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting. It means choosing freedom over bitterness. Until next time, keep believing in second chances.